Hi, everyone. It's the Catholic CEO, Henry Kutarna. Welcome to our Exemplary Catholic Leaders series. Today, my special guest, David Garcia. David, how are you?
I'm doing great, Henry. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great too. Thank you. Thanks for being here. I want to just tell our audience that David is the owner of David Thomas Homes, and he's going to talk about that with us today. And he's also a real estate investor, so that's near and dear to my heart, David. So, we always have lots to talk about when we meet in person.
Absolutely.
And he's the father of 7 children. So I want you to know that he's a Catholic family guy who has a business, and so he's living through the vicissitudes of life, raising a family and running a business. So, David,
Absolutely.
let's begin with let's talk first about your faith journey. Tell us about your
Sure.
faith story.
Oh gosh. Well, cradle Catholic, you know, always been in Catholic school. I've actually never not gone to Catholic school, but really started taking my faith seriously in high school and uh met my met my wife. She was a Franciscan grad, and we had 4 kids together. Yeah, I've some of your viewers may know that I lost my wife to cancer back in 2017. We'd had 4 kids together, remarried a little over a year later, and we've had 3 together. And actually, this might be news to you. We've actually got number 4 of ours, number 8 total, on the way. We're due here in December.
That's great. I actually did hear that somewhere. Someone told me that. So God bless you guys, and may your
Thank you.
wife who died rest in peace, and
Thank you.
may your wife today and your family, grow in holiness all the time.
Amen. Thank you.
So when you grew up in the faith, David, were there any intellectual experiences or emotional experiences? A lot of people tell us they came to the faith or stayed in the
Oh,
faith
sure.
strongly because of either an intellectual process or an emotional, like, or a personal experience of some kind.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So St. Thomas High School is Catholic high school here in town. At the time, I had a theology teacher named Greg Orcutt, who's now Deacon Greg Orcutt. He's a deacon with the Ordinariate. Um, and I think there were some other theology teachers there, but really he's probably the first one that opened my eyes to the idea that the Catholic faith specifically is reasonable. It is not just something that you have to take on just blind belief, but that it can be reasoned through. That you look at someone like Thomas Aquinas, and he can very rationally draw conclusions from here to here to here to here, and that really the Catholic faith is one of the only faith. It is the only faith that is fully reasonable. That you don't. At no point do we have to be scared of any question that somebody asks us, because somebody asked and answered that question before in the last 2,000 years. Um, and that if there were any, that it is the Catholic belief that if there were any logical reason that truly conflicted with the faith, well, there isn't. There can't be, because the faith is at one with the created world and with yeah, it holds together. It's not. It doesn't contradict or conflict with itself. So I thought that was really fascinating. On the emotional side, or sort of the spiritual moment side, when I was in high school, Life Teen was a big thing, and Life Teen, and sort of that movement, was really impactful for me at that time. And we can talk about, uh, liturgy and challenges and abuses and all those sort of things. And I think there's plenty to be said there. Personal experience was that environment was something that spoke to me, at that time in my life. And it was something that drew me into the faith in a way that I hadn't been before. So I'm grateful to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You're not going to believe this. I was one time flying from Calgary to Salt Lake City on business, and I was sitting between two Mormons,
Oh, no.
guys, and I
Yeah.
was reading Pope John Paul II's encyclical Faith and Reason, Fides et
Hmm.
Ratio, and I'm reading it. We're
Beautiful.
both looking over my shoulder, and so of course they started to ask me questions, and I remember having that same discussion with them. I love that you spoke about this. I said to them, well, you could faith and reason are not incompatible. And I said,
That's right.
in the Catholic faith, every moral question has been asked, and it has defended it successfully with internal consistency. You know,
Yes.
and we had a serious discussion. Obviously they were Mormons and they were going to Salt Lake City. They were going to the something from, and Calgary's, there's a lot of Mormons in Calgary as well. So
Oh, I
anyway,
didn't know that.
it's just a story, but I like what you said about, the reason part. You can reason
Mhm.
your way into the faith as well. So that's
You
great.
can.
So David, let's move to the business then. You're a home builder, and I know a little
Mhm.
bit about your business. You're a real estate investor. Tell us what you do. What do you do?
Sure. So we've been doing real estate deals for close to a decade. About the last 2 years, we got into what I'd call renovations and now new construction, luxury spec new construction. So we're not a custom builder. Custom builders are they'll build for a client. A client will come and say, "I've got some money. I want you to build a home for me." We're instead primarily real estate investors. So we look at a neighborhood. We say, "This is a product that is selling well in that neighborhood." That product might be a 5-bedroom house with 4,000 square feet, and 4 bathrooms, or it might be a 3-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms and 2,000 square feet. And we look at the neighborhoods and we say, okay, where can we build a product that's going to sell at a price point that's going to sell well, and make a profit off of it, right? So you got to buy the land, build the house, sell it. We like the new construction because you sort of get a clean slate. Renovations are always hard because you don't know what's going on behind the walls. But that's the business. We've got four of these, four right now, new construction projects that should sell for a tidy sum of money, hopefully, if everything goes well. And yes, and that's been the business. We'll probably branch out into either custom homes or just starting to work with a couple clients, sort of on a friend basis right now. But that's a bit more of a side business. The real estate side is really what we focus on.
That's great. I love it. The audience will know that my grandfather on my dad's side started, he built a house and he renovated, and then he bought an old 80-room hotel in
Wow.
the city I grew up
Yeah.
in, and he converted that to 42-room apartments, nice, clean apartments for, Polish immigrants recently coming in to the country. And so it's a story that I'm familiar with, and I love it because it's a great business. Now, sometimes people say to me, the profit or capital gain it's
Mm.
not good. It's not Catholic. So what would you say about?
Yeah. Yeah, I would refute that pretty strongly. Um, I think money in and of itself is amoral. I think what scripture warns against is the love of money, right? And so
Yes.
to the extent that I'm doing this or anyone is out there doing a business because they love the money itself, then that gets problematic very fast, and you can see the sort of the world of ills, the world of evils, sort of come through that. But money in its own, I've actually got another real estate investor uh, friend who's Christian, and his perspective or something that we share is we say, well, somebody has to fund the kingdom of God. Why not us? Right. Somebody needs to pay to build the beautiful churches. I think as Catholics, we have not just a soft place in our heart, but we have an obligation to seek and to support truth, beauty, and goodness.
Yeah.
And you know, something that we're really blessed with in the Ordinariate is some really beautiful spaces, especially here in Houston at the Cathedral of Our Lady of Walsingham. It's just a gorgeous church, and I know that we have plans um, for an additional building that's going to continue that beauty. Well, that beauty costs money because, yeah, I think you can follow the trail of breadcrumbs and you say, okay, you really want to build anything, but let's just call it a church. And you want to have beautiful stonework because that draws the soul to God. Well, somebody needs to create that beautiful stonework. Are they going to do it for free? No. It's going to take a significant amount of their time. So let's say that you need a stonemason who's going to spend, let's just for example, they're going to spend 6 months of their life building the stonework to go into this church. It's probably more like 2 years, but So 6 months, what should they be paid for that? Well, they're spending 8, 10 hours a day doing this, and they need to support, maybe they're supporting a wife and 3 kids, my wife and 6, 7 kids, who knows? But so they need to be paid uh, a living wage. They need to be paid a just wage. Um, and that, you multiply that out for a whole building, the plumbers and the framers and the engineers and the architects and just on and on and on and on. The math adds up that, and so the profit at the end, for me as a builder, I'm not swinging any hammers is what I say. Like, I'm not the plumber. I'm not the stonemason. I'm not the sheetrock guy. I'm not anything. But I need to, my family needs to live also. So my family lives off of the profit side of it. And if I can, first of all, I need to build enough in there in the budget so that when things go wrong, I don't go underwater. And when things go right, I think as Catholics, A, provide a good life for your family is a good and noble thing. But B, to the extent that's possible, and perhaps even to the extent that it hurts sometimes, we're giving generously to the church and to charities that are worthwhile. So yeah, he, he- the ecosystem, that model doesn't work without profit.
Yep, absolutely. You're a walking, in a sense, a testimonial for the Catholic CEOs. We have this Catholic economy project, and we say the same thing. We say that we should do business together. We should sell together,
Hmm.
buy together. We should sell to each other and buy from each other and capitalize each other. Why? Well, for all the reasons you mentioned, as well as we can influence the culture that we can change laws,
Hmm.
we can change marketing methods, we can change
Absolutely.
attitudes, and so this is an important thing. Now, David, this is I love what you've said. So you're in business, you understand capital and the surprises of business, I guess you could say, that happen
Sure.
at the time. What what do you see out there for a Catholic owned business? Now, you try to operate under Catholic
Mhm.
principles. We met and we've talked, and I've had the good fortune of spending some time with you. Tell us about how you operate as a Catholic business. What's different about you? Because, everybody says I have beautiful homes and mine are, have all the great features, but is there something uniquely Catholic about David Thomas Holmes?
Um, I, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. Right. And to the no, I would say we're building a product like anyone else is building,
Yeah.
and that product hopefully is a well built home. Um, and plenty of other builders out there build good homes, and uh, wouldn't try to throw anyone under the bus that way. But I do think in the process of building a home, as in the process of building a business or just going about your daily life, there are ways in which you can uh, take shortcuts, or you can accomplish something in a way that is maybe nobody else would ever know, right? Maybe it's not going to have an impact, or maybe it would, and certainly with a home, homes are really interesting. And a lot of people probably don't think about this, but everything that makes a home work is hidden. It's behind the sheetrock. It's behind, at least in Western building methods, you're going to build the structure of the home. You're going to build the plumbing, the electrical, the air conditioning, all these things, the way that the home sheds water when it's rained on, uh, all of that's going to that's the function of the home, and it all gets hidden by sheetrock. And so it's very easy to do something and say, well, nobody will probably notice that in the next 2 years, and we're going to cover it up. And then by that point, the warranty will be over and nobody will care. Or you can really every step of the way be fastidious and say, no, I know nobody else will ever see it. Nobody is ever going to pay me extra for doing this right. Um, but it's the right thing to do and so I think that's a way in which, we try to be, I would say that's a Catholic principle, sort of doing things with integrity. Um,
Yeah.
we're trying not to ask people to work on Sundays. Certainly for people that work for me, that's the day off. Um, and then trying to pay a wage that allows, pay a living wage that can support a family, right? That's the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. These are, I love these principles because they are, you've described some externalities where people see, good quality. There's obviously your homes have to be top quality to compete in the marketplace, but there's
Mhm.
also this interior thing that's not going to be publicly seen. your conscience is at work. It's like the inner form and the external world that we operate in the faith. This is a good analogy. You've got this inner thing that says behind those walls, behind that sheetrock drywall, there's going to be, I'm going to do, I don't know, a good job of soldering the copper or
Mhm.
gluing the PVC together so that there's not going to be a leak 5 years from now. It's going to be done well, or I'm going to
Mhm.
strap it right so it doesn't vibrate into a, whatever. So
That's right.
I think that I like to hear that. What would you say to somebody, one of your friends comes to you and says, "Hey, David, I love real estate too. How do I get started in this?" What's the secret to starting a real estate investment business? Because people automatically
Oh,
think, "Oh, it's money. I need, 100 grand. I need a quarter million to start." What's the answer to how do you start a real estate renovation or investment business?
that's a great question. In some sense, you do need money to get started. What I have learned, especially in the last couple of years, is that there is money out there, and I think you would, I think you'd agree that for somebody that has a clear vision and a good business plan, there is going to be an investor. There's going to be capital available to you. I think in large part, capital, the folks who have money are looking for people with vision and uh, people with a good plan, right? And who they believe can operate, right? So if you've got a good vision, you've got the ability to operate, and you've got a good business plan that can provide a decent return to the investor. Um, Investors are looking for places to put their money to work, and if you can prove that you're a safe, relatively safe bet for them, um, then there's going to be money available, and that's something that I heard a few years ago that said, "Oh, just get started, and the money will come, the money will come, the money will come." And at the time, it sounded silly, but it is absolutely proven to be true.
You're speaking my language. The grandfather that I said to you that bought that 80-room hotel, that was a dive hotel. It was a
Mhm.
real. And so he went to the bank. It's a long story, and I won't tell the whole story, but he was a banquet porter at a big railway hotel in this city,
Mhm.
and he met people, the lumberyard guy, the bankers, various people came through. But he got I'm telling you the actual facts here. $100,000 loan back in the
Mhm.
in the 30s. He got a
Gosh, that's
$100,000 loan
yeah,
from this bank on character recognition. The banker knew him to be a hardworking guy. He had a plan, like you said, he had a vision, and he said, "We're
yeah.
going to make 40 two-room suites out of this. We're going to have good quality immigrants coming in that are going to be offered a clean, beautiful rental apartment accommodation for them."
Mhm.
Long story, I could go on, but this is the thing. And the capital was available. And then after that, mortgage financing, renovation financing, it all came along. Not, we had to prove ourselves. And I'm third generation. So I'm beyond that original story. But your point is, I
Mhm.
think, a good one. So capital can come available. You have to have that plan and vision. You have to execute, don't you?
Yeah, and I'll just sort of share a little bit more about that. So just to share numbers, I've raised I think a little over $2 million now, and this is not one invest. That's probably about equivalent to your grandfather's 100,000, back in the 30s, more or less. And it's not this was not one investor that came in and said, "Here's a bucket of money." This is average check size of 30, 40, $50,000. And so that's it's a lot of people that have and to get there. So one piece of advice I would say: don't give up. Like that, you've only failed when you give up. And to get those 20 or 30 investors, whatever I've got, yeah, I've probably talked to hundreds of people and heard a lot of no's in a lot of different ways. But the people that see the vision and are in a place to partner with us, um, almost to a person, and I would say to a person, they are just like you said, they are investing on principle and on character, right? I'm selling myself as much as I'm selling the project. They can look at a project and say, "That looks like a great project, but I don't trust you." Or it's not that I don't trust you, but I don't think you know what you're doing well enough to get it done. Or even if you do get it done well, I don't believe that be forthright, at some point of the process. You've got to sort of check all these boxes. And so if you don't have money, you're trying to get started, uh, act with integrity in everything you do and with everyone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love again, I'm so positive about what you're saying. Would that story that you've told about, character and integrity, would it differ if a young person came to you? Let's say somebody that's not going to college or somebody that does go to college, they're 21, 22. I want to start a real estate investment business. Would your advice to them differ in any way, David? Because
Yeah,
they may not have
I
money and they won't get 100,000 or 2 million necessarily because they don't have
sure.
a track record in life. But I'm just curious what.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to get into real estate, I think, without having a bunch of money or a bunch of experience. Wholesaling certainly works. It is a grind, but we be willing to work. One of the things that I've heard that's always sort of stuck with me and has served me well, is add value first. So when you meet somebody that you might want something from, maybe they're an investor who is farther along the path than you are, or they're very successful, or they've got something that, oh, I would love to learn from them. Find a way to add value first, right? Find a way that you can share something that you've got. Maybe what you've got as a young person is time. And if somebody came to me like that, um, and said, "I've got time. What can I do for you?" Pro bono, I'd say, "Oh gosh, sure." And that would very quickly turn into, how can we work together, in the future?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. My favorite thing about when renovations was painting. I could do
But really,
like electrical, plumbing, heat, I can do it all, but painting was my favorite thing. So someday, if I come by one of your houses and you need me to do a room, I'm going to grab that roller and I know how to do it, David. I
it's
want you to know.
fantastic, Henry. I hate painting. I'll let you do that. Is my
It's a funny
least
thing. I
favorite
could,
part.
like I say, I could do it all. We had to do it all when we started out and we had no money. We had to do it all, but I
Absolutely.
love paintings, even so now. So
Yeah,
anyway, David, we could talk longer about this. We're coming to the natural end of our time together.
sure.
How does our audience support your business? Where do they go? What's the website and
Well,
what can we do to support you?
yeah, if you want to keep up with us, we're online at davidthomasbuilders.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook under the same handle.
That's great. We're going to put that in the show notes. And so David, God bless you and your family, your growing family,
Thank
and
you.
your business efforts and all the things that you do. So thanks again for being with us today.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Henry. Good to see you.
God bless. See you later.
God bless.